Confident Speaking Podcast, where you can learn to speak English with natural rhythm, real confidence, and fluency.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Confident Speaking Podcast, the show where we help intermediate English learners like you build confidence, improve communication skills, and unlock your full potential in English. I'm Julia, your host, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today.
And I'm Alex. I'm actually one of those English learners Julia mentioned. I've been working on improving my communication skills, especially in professional settings. Julia, I have to tell you, I just had this nightmare last night. I was sitting in a job interview, and the interviewer asked me, "Tell me about yourself," and I just froze. Completely blank. I woke up in a cold sweat.
Oh my goodness, Alex, that's actually such a common fear. And honestly, it's not just about speaking English. It's about the pressure of presenting yourself in the best possible light. This is exactly why I wanted to have you on the show today to talk about this topic.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, it's funny how our minds can play tricks on us, right? I mean, I can have a normal conversation with you, but put me in front of an interviewer, and suddenly I forget how to speak.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. How to answer job interview questions in English with confidence and authenticity. We're going to explore not just what to say, but how to calm those nerves, structure your thoughts, and present yourself genuinely. Alex, what's your biggest fear when it comes to job interviews?
Honestly, it's not just the language barrier, though that's part of it. It's the fear of not being good enough, of stumbling over my words, or worse, giving an answer that makes me sound completely unprepared.
That vulnerability you just shared, that's exactly what we need to address. Today, we'll cover practical strategies for the most common interview questions, techniques to manage anxiety, and ways to turn your English learning journey into a strength rather than a weakness. Let's get started. Alex, before we jump into specific questions, I want to talk about something crucial, your mindset going into an interview. How do you typically feel before an important conversation in English?
Well, I usually start overthinking everything. I rehearse conversations in my head, worry about making grammar mistakes, and then I end up sounding robotic instead of natural. It's like I'm more focused on being perfect than being myself.
That's such an important observation. You know, when we're so focused on perfection, we actually disconnect from our authentic selves. Here's the thing. Most interviewers aren't looking for perfect English. They're looking for someone who can communicate effectively, show genuine interest, and connect on a human level.
But what if I make mistakes? What if I can't find the right word in the moment?
Alex, let me share something with you. I once interviewed someone whose English wasn't perfect, but they said something that stuck with me. I may not have all the words yet, but I have all the passion. That person got the job because their authenticity shone through their imperfections.
Wow, that's actually really encouraging. So it's more about being genuine than being grammatically perfect.
Exactly. Think about it this way. If you were hiring someone, would you rather work with someone who's technically perfect but feels cold and rehearsed, or someone who's warm, engaged, and shows real enthusiasm, even if they pause to find the right word sometimes?
When you put it that way, definitely the second person. They'd be more enjoyable to work with day to day.
Okay, now let's tackle the question that probably appears in 90% of interviews. Tell me about yourself. Alex, when you hear this question, what goes through your mind?
Panic, honestly? It's so broad. Do they want my life story, my work history, my hobbies? I never know where to start, and I end up rambling about everything and nothing.
That's such a common reaction. Here's a framework that can help. Think of it as a story with 3 parts: your past, your present, and your future. Start with relevant experience, talk about what you're doing now, and connect it to why you're excited about this opportunity.
So, like a mini narrative. That actually sounds manageable.
Exactly. For example, instead of listing facts about yourself, you might say something like, I started my career in marketing because I've always been fascinated by how stories can connect people. Currently, I'm working on digital campaigns where I've learned to analyze data and create content that resonates with audiences. I'm here today because I'm excited about the opportunity to bring both my creative and analytical skills to your team.
I love how that flows naturally. It's not just facts. It shows passion and connects everything together.
Right. And notice how it ends by connecting to the role. You're not just talking about yourself in isolation, you're showing how your story fits into their story.
Julia, what about those questions that start with, tell me about a time when? Those always trip me up because I feel like I need to remember every detail perfectly.
Behavioral questions. These are actually fantastic opportunities to showcase your problem-solving skills and emotional intelligence. The T is using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result.
I've heard of that, but I always get confused about the difference between situation and task.
Great question. Think of situation as setting the scene, what was happening. Task is what you needed to accomplish. Action is what you specifically did, and result is what happened because of your actions. Let's practice with a common one. Tell me about a time you faced a challenge at work.
Okay, so for situation, I might say something like, last year, our team was working on a project with a very tight deadline, and halfway through, we realized our initial approach wasn't going to work.
Perfect start. You've set the scene clearly. Now, what was your specific task or responsibility in that situation?
As the team coordinator, I needed to find a solution quickly, without compromising the quality of our work or missing the deadline.
Excellent. Now, what specific actions did you take?
I called an emergency meeting, encouraged everyone to brainstorm alternative approaches, and then divided the team into smaller groups to test the most promising ideas simultaneously. I also communicated with our client to set realistic expectations.
I love how you included both the practical steps and the communication aspect. That shows leadership and transparency. What was the result?
We ended up delivering the project on time with an even better solution than our original plan. The client was impressed with our adaptability, and the team felt more confident about handling unexpected challenges.
That's a complete, compelling story. Notice how Alex didn't just focus on what happened, he showed his thought process, his leadership style, and the positive outcome.
There's one question that absolutely terrifies me. What's your greatest weakness? I mean, how do you answer that without basically talking yourself out of the job?
This question makes everyone nervous, but here's the secret. They're not trying to trip you up. They want to see self-awareness and your ability to grow. The key is choosing a real weakness that you're actively working on improving.
But won't that make me look bad?
Not if you frame it right. For example, as an English learner, you might say, I sometimes take longer to process complex information in English during fast-paced meetings. I've been working on this by preparing more thoroughly beforehand and asking clarifying questions when needed. I've found this actually helps me contribute more meaningfully to discussions.
Oh, that's clever. You're showing the weakness, but also the growth mindset and practical steps you're taking.
Exactly. You're turning a potential disadvantage into evidence of your self-awareness and commitment to improvement. What's a weakness you've been working on?
Well, I used to avoid speaking up in group settings because I was worried about my accent or making mistakes. But I've been practicing by joining discussion groups and volunteering to present ideas in smaller meetings first.
That's beautiful, Alex. You're showing vulnerability, growth, and practical action. Any interviewer would appreciate that level of self-reflection. Okay, Alex, we've talked about answering questions, but what about when they ask, do you have any questions for us? I feel like this is where a lot of people just say no or ask about salary.
Ooh, I never know what to ask. I usually just ask about the work schedule or benefits, but I always feel like those questions make me sound like I'm not really interested in the work itself.
That's such good instinct. Your questions are actually a chance to show your genuine interest and help you determine if this is the right fit for you. Think about questions that show you're thinking beyond just getting the job.
What do you mean by that?
Well, instead of asking, "What are the working hours?" you might ask, "What does a typical day look like in this role?" Or, "What are the biggest challenges facing the team right now?" These questions show you're thinking about how you can contribute.
That makes sense. It's like showing you're already mentally in the role.
Exactly. And here's something powerful. You can ask about growth and learning opportunities. Something like, how does the company support professional development? Or what skills would be most valuable to develop in this position?
I love that because it shows you're thinking long-term and want to keep improving.
Right. And as an English learner, you could even ask something like, how does the team typically communicate and collaborate? This shows you're thinking about integration and teamwork.
Julia, all of these strategies sound great, but what about when your mind just goes blank due to nerves? Sometimes I know exactly what I want to say, but the pressure makes me forget everything.
That's so relatable, Alex. Interview anxiety is completely normal, and there are practical ways to manage it. First, remember that it's okay to pause and think. You can say something like, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a moment."
Really? I always feel like I need to answer immediately or I'll look unprepared.
Not at all. Taking a moment to collect your thoughts actually shows that you're thoughtful and deliberate. It's much better than rushing into an answer you're not confident about.
What about breathing? I notice when I'm nervous, I tend to speak really fast and run out of breath.
Breathing is crucial. Before the interview, practice deep breathing exercises. During the interview, if you feel overwhelmed, it's perfectly fine to take a slow breath before answering. It actually makes you appear more calm and confident.
And what if I completely forget what I was going to say in the middle of answering?
It happens to everyone. You can simply say, "I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment. Let me approach this differently," and then reframe your answer. Interviewers are human too. They understand that conversations don't always go perfectly. All right, everyone, let's break down some key expressions from today's episode that are absolutely essential for job interviews in English.
This is my favorite part. I always feel more confident when I really understand how to use these phrases naturally.
Let's start with the classic opener. Tell me about yourself. This is probably the most common question you'll face in any interview.
Right, and it's not asking for your life story. When they say, "Tell me about yourself," focus on your professional story, not your personal life.
Exactly. Now, what about those tricky behavioral questions? These are the ones that really test your experience.
Those are the questions that ask about your past experiences and actions, like, "Tell me about a time when you faced a challenge."
Perfect example. Behavioral questions usually start with, "Tell me about a time when..."
And that's where the STAR method becomes so useful, isn't it?
Absolutely. The STAR method: situation, task, action, result. It's like having a roadmap for your answers.
I love that. Use the STAR method to give complete, organized answers about your experience.
Now, here's the question that makes everyone nervous. What's your greatest weakness?
That one still gives me chills, but I've learned it's really about showing self-awareness, right?
Exactly. When asked about your greatest weakness, choose something you're actively working to improve.
And self-awareness is so important because it shows you can reflect and grow.
Yes, employers value self-awareness because it shows you can reflect and grow.
What about when they ask follow-up questions? Those can catch you off guard.
Oh, follow-up questions are actually a good sign. It means they're interested.
That's a great way to think about it. Prepare for follow-up questions by thinking deeper about your examples.
And when it's your turn to ask questions, professional development is always a smart topic.
Right. It shows you're thinking about growth. Ask about professional development opportunities to show you're committed to growth.
Don't forget to ask about the work environment, too. You want to know if it's a good fit.
Absolutely. Ask about the work environment to see if it's a good fit for you.
Speaking of fit, employers love hearing about team collaboration. It shows you can work well with others.
Yes. Give examples of team collaboration to show you're a good team player.
And always highlight your problem-solving skills. Every employer wants someone who can handle challenges.
That's where those behavioral questions really shine. Use the STAR method to demonstrate your problem-solving skills with specific examples.
Make sure to connect your career goals to the position. It shows genuine interest.
Smart. Connect your career goals to the position to show genuine interest.
Finally, remember that cultural fit is huge. Companies want people who align with their values.
That's why research is so important. Research the company culture beforehand to show you're a good cultural fit.
Now, let's hear how these interview expressions sound in a real conversation. This will help you understand how to use them naturally.
I love this part. It's so much easier to learn when you hear phrases in context rather than just memorizing definitions.
Okay, Sarah is helping her friend Mike practice for an upcoming job interview at a customer service company. They're doing a mock interview session where Sarah plays the interviewer, asking typical questions while Mike practices his responses. Mike has been working in customer service for a few years and is looking to advance his career with a new company that values teamwork and innovation.
All right, Mike, let's start with the classic question. Tell me about yourself.
Sure. Well, I graduated with a degree in business administration 3 years ago, and I've been working in customer service since then. What I love most about my current role is solving problems for customers and working with my team to find creative solutions. I'm really interested in this position because I want to grow my career in a company that values teamwork and innovation.
That flows really well. Now, let's try a behavioral question. Can you tell me about a time when you had to work under pressure?
Absolutely. Last month, our system crashed right before a major product launch, and customers were calling nonstop. I had to coordinate with the tech team to get updates while also managing angry customers on the phone. I created a simple update script for my colleagues so we could all give consistent information, and I personally followed up with our biggest clients to make sure they felt heard. In the end, we restored the system within 4 hours, and several customers actually thanked us for our communication during the crisis.
Excellent. You used the STAR method really well there. You set up the situation, explained your specific actions, and gave a clear result.
Thanks. I've been practicing that structure.
Now for the tough one. What would you say is your greatest weakness?
I'd say I sometimes take on too many tasks because I want to help everyone. In my last role, I realized this was actually making me less effective because I couldn't give my best work to everything. So now I'm learning to prioritize better and say no when I'm already at capacity. It's helped me produce higher quality work.
Good answer. You showed self-awareness and that you're actively working on it. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I'm curious about the work environment here. What's the team culture like, and how do you handle professional development?
Perfect. Those are exactly the kinds of questions that show you're thinking about cultural fit and long-term growth.
Julia, as we wrap up today's episode, I'm thinking about how much of interview success really comes down to being genuinely yourself, even in English.
That's such a profound insight, Alex. You know, there's this quote that says, "Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are." In interviews, we often get so caught up in trying to be the perfect candidate that we forget the most powerful thing we can offer is our authentic self.
It's interesting how our fears about language can actually make us more human and relatable, isn't it? Instead of seeing English as a barrier, what if we saw it as a bridge to connect with others who also had to overcome challenges?
Beautiful perspective. Every time you speak English in a professional setting, you're demonstrating resilience, adaptability, and courage. These are exactly the qualities employers are looking for. So ask yourself, what story does your journey tell about who you are as a person and as a potential colleague?
And maybe the question isn't, am I good enough, but rather, how can I contribute uniquely to this team? When we shift from self-doubt to service, everything changes.
Exactly, Alex. Remember, interviews aren't interrogations. They're conversations between humans, trying to figure out if they can work together towards something meaningful. Your English learning journey is part of what makes you uniquely valuable. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Confident Speaking Podcast. Alex, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Just remember that every interview is practice, whether you get the job or not. Each conversation in English makes you stronger and more confident for the next one.
Beautifully said. If today's episode helped you feel more prepared for your next interview, please like this episode and subscribe to our channel. Share it with someone who might need this encouragement. We're all in this journey together.
And remember, your voice matters. The world needs what you have to offer, and the right opportunity is out there waiting for you.
In our next episode, we'll be exploring how to handle difficult conversations at work in English. Because confidence isn't just about interviews, it's about thriving in your career every single day. Until then, keep speaking, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. We'll see you next time.